All right. So, good morning, everyone. So, as usual, let's begin the day with 1 minute of silence. Just be aware, just be. All right. You can come back to the session. So, today we will look a little more deeper into what we looked at yesterday. We talked about awareness part of it. And today we will go a little more deeper and try to understand that is there a difference between I am aware and I am the awareness itself? I know today's topic is little more deeper, but then let's try to find out how we can understand this whole thought of I am aware of some things and I am the awareness itself. So before we lead into that, so I want to start with yesterday we ended the session with Siddharth asking a question saying that while meditating, I get some insights and what do I do? I mean, kind of uh, what action is appropriate at the time? Should I just go out of the meditation and write it down or to make a note of it? Or should I feel that that is my mind way of tricking me into do something and take me out of the meditation? So it is a conflict, right? So it is a classic conflict of the mind playing a game within our own self. So I was giving a thought about it. I mean, after the session, I was just gently thinking about uh, the question and etc. So what came to my mind was, I mean, I was thinking, and then it felt like there is one story generally people talk about. It is two monks and who are practicing in the same school. One day they were heading out and they were crossing the river, and there will be one girl and then who needs help for to cross the river. So first she asked both the monks can you help me to cross the river? So the one monk will say, no, I mean, we are monk, we renounced everything, so we cannot touch women and we cannot touch this, we cannot do all these things, right? We are not that's not the right thing to do. Whereas the other monk will say, no, we are at service to people, right? So we will serve people the whatever the way that we can. So he carries the girl and then crosses the river and then leave her at the other side of the shore. So the day goes by, the two will reach their monastery and they will go to sleep. At the middle of the night, the other monk who is still undressed with the one who carried the women, so he feels that he just goes and wakes him up and says, so how can you do that? It's completely against our monastery rules as well as the principles and the code of conduct of any monk. How can you carry a girl? You touched her. So then the other monk will say, I left her in the shore itself, but then why are you carrying her in your mind for so long? Right? So the one will say, I carried her physically, but then I left her in the riverbed. But whereas you are carrying her all the while in your memory and in your mind for so long. So this story is to illustrate that sometimes we carry our thoughts and the actions for way too long, and it becomes a kind of a burden within ourselves. If you understand what I mean is, the situations come, situations goes. Everything that happens to us. Sometimes we must have acted in a the way that we wanted to express, or we feel that is the right thing to do, and sometimes may not. However, what happens is sometimes the cost that we pay for it is holding on to that for so long in our mind. So that is where any emotion, thoughts, feeling, past, everything creates some kind of uneasiness within our own mind, right? So saying that, it is, I somehow felt, even with our own mind, first we should start practicing kindness. That is the kindness when he talked about Brahma Vihara sometime, I mean, few sessions ago. So the first Brahma Vihara we talked about was loving kindness. So the loving kindness is how to be kind to people, like, others. And the first person you should and me should, we all should be kind to is our own self. And especially to one single part of our own self is our own mind. Because if you look at very closely, all the thoughts, emotions, feelings, and etc., the suffering happens in the mind. The physical sufferings are more minimal, or very, very minimal, compared to a suffering of our mind, right? So we will run through it and then we'll suffer. So first place I feel is we should be kind to our own mind instead before we become kind to our body, to anybody else in this whole world. So allow the mind as it is. If it hurts you, just gently acknowledge that. So that way we'll be much more in a better place. So that is what I wanted to start off with. And that is also, we can say that that is a effortless being or effortless way of practicing things as well, right? So when you're kind to your own mind, you're not putting too much stress on it. You're not being so critical about it. You don't feel guilty about it, and you allow it as it is. So that is an effortless way of becoming aware person itself. And one analogy that I want to give you is, we always try to talk about the mind, thoughts, emotion being the child who's crying. Then the awareness, we can also relate as the mother, right? You and me being the pure awareness, we can be gentle with the babies, like, the thoughts, emotions, feeling, guilt, worries, everything. We can be gentle as a baby. We can console our own self from the place of awareness. So that being said, let's get into the session. And today, I want to start off with one of the video that I watched recently. And this video, it is very mind or a thought provoking video, I would say. So the reason is, in this video, they talk about a person, say for an example, Mark. So they call it as a Mark. And then he says that the person is split into two beings. When I say two beings is, one, he's identifying himself with his beliefs. The other one is he's identifying with his emotions or his nature of things, right? How he feels and etc. So in that example, they use, when all they relate Mark as a person who has a strong take or a belief that homosexuality is bad. It is a sin. That is his strong take. That is his belief. It is values, his upbringing values. He created that homosexuality is bad. And whereas the same Mark, he goes across the world and teaches people why homosexuality is bad and we should be banned and etc. There is some part of his emotion, there is some part of his inner being. It also finds attraction towards the same sex. He being a male, he feels that he's a gay. So that way, his same person, the Mark, he's split into two beings. One is what he's feeling, his emotion, and the other side is what he believes is the right thing, right? So one is he believes that homosexuality is a sin, whereas he feels that he himself is a gay. So now he is split. He's split into two different persons. So now, which one is the true self? Is it the belief, what he's holding as homosexuality is sin? Is it a true self? Or his emotion that he's attracted to the other men or other person? Is that the true self? Which one is the true self? Just a quick, you can self-reflect the question. So how they take this whole idea of the split between the emotion and the self, the belief is, they say that after all those, when they thought about it, they did a scientific experiment, whereas they called two group of people, especially in US, there is a Republican and Democrats, and they both have a different viewpoint towards how the country should be, right? One is more liberal and one more is much more of the social, capitalism and etc. So it is feels that. And what they did was they called both the groups. And now the first experience, the first example they gave was this, the person Mark, who is who thinks that homosexuality is a sin, and whereas his emotion feels that he is attracted to someone. So one group, especially the Republicans, they said, it seems they feel that whatever he believed that homosexuality is sin, it is a sin. right? So that is the true self. And whereas the Democrat said, no, the other emotion, you have to appreciate the emotion, that his emotions are much more truer self. So they left it there. And this time they brought in other two set of people and they changed the role of Mark. So this time he said that the Mark is the one who advocate and support homosexuality, that is his value, whereas he has a aversion, like, towards anyone who is homosexual, right? So that example, the moment it comes in, people switch sides. The Republican started accepting more of emotion this time because they feel that, okay, as an emotion, he's like, he don't want to attach himself with the other people as a gay. And whereas the Democrats, they start accepting more of his belief system or values, right? So to illustrate the point, what they were, how they conclude is this: neither of them are true, neither the belief nor his emotions. What is true is whatever feels convenient for people to take it. What they think it is a right, they take a stand based on that instead of really depending on emotion, or you're talking about the belief system. So that is where we are leading to with the awareness part of it. Because now this is one of the example to illustrate that how we are split into two person, but then we are neither of it. So that being said, we will go into like what is really important. Like, we are going into the awareness. Before that, one part is like, what is really important in life. So most of us, like, even I used to write all my goals year after year. And then I always feel that, okay, I have to become best at my health, wealth, career, relationship, social life, and even the spiritual one. I wanted to evolve. So that feels like, yes, those are true things. Everybody has to focus on that. However, there is one place which is very important for all of us is the self-awareness or self-realization. Or the other way, what we can look at is how to be in a place of stillness, not really get affected by our own thoughts and emotion. So to give you that, the perspective of it, there is a quote by Jim Carrey, right? So Jim Carrey says that I really wish everyone should be successful, famous, and do whatever they can. And to find out that that is not enough, right? That is not the answer to all the question. Not the money, not the famous or being uh, like filled with fame and successful and etc. There is something else, right? So that is what how he portrays. But what it means to you and me is, though we all need to go in a quest of the materialistic quest, which I don't deny, everyone, we need money, we need people, we need a better relationship, better health, and etc. There is other part as well, like there's a path which we talking about as a stillness. That is a being, nothing fancy about stillness though, right? It is nothing to do with religion or spiritual things, or nothing like some magic things, nothing. It is just that our inner state of being completely aware, not get disturbed by the waves of life, right? Highs and lows. So that's all we are talking about as awareness and stillness. So how I see is, just imagine how best it will be. Like, if you are perfectly balanced, when I say perfectly, maybe imperfectly as well, you're balanced with a way that you pursue all the materialistic quest, whereas you're a completely aware person. The completely aware person is who just sees that everything as a movie, and then he just becomes an observer of the movie. So he will still in the movie, like if Karthik is the one who's the hero of that movie, he will play all the roles. He's a more like successful guy who's hardworking, pursue the relationship goals and romantic everything. But at the same time, he's also an observer who is witnessing the movie. He just takes a back seat as a, like the director of the movie. He just watches it without getting affected into the roller coasters of emotion. He watches and enjoys the movie. So that's something that we are talking about as awareness, as well as how to be self-conscious about it. And then what comes is, we talk about generally time, right? So we always believe that time is a factor which can help us achieve things in life. Most of us, we believe that. So when it comes to time, we will believe that, okay, I can learn a skill with the time. Yes, we can learn a skill. And the other thing, so if I wanted to change my body, how I look, obviously I can put some effort and change myself, right? I can work out and be on diet, etc. I can change myself. And everything else can be accomplished in with your time, right? I mean, the materialistic things mostly, as well as your physical transformation, we take it with time. However, for the self realization or the stillness, what we are talking about, it is something time cannot give us. So, what I mean by that? So, just imagine this. Sometimes we believe that there is a place which exists in the future for us, whereas we can become a more self aware person. Or maybe this idea and concept is I'm not understanding it right now. Maybe in the future I will understand. Or like me, like I used to tell myself, I'm an explorer, I am a seeker. I will actively go into exploring myself to find out who I really are. I will figure that out in the future. But if you know from yesterday what we discussed about, the moment you can be completely aware is at this moment. As we are speaking, as you close your eyes or you take a deep breath, that's the moment you can be completely aware of. It is not something that you can be in the past or in the future. No, it is right now, at this moment, the very moment you're listening to me, this words, if you just observe your breath, that is a moment of complete awareness and stillness, right? So it not necessarily it is something to happen in the future or something that is a quest that you can accomplish. The moment you realize that the time is now, then it's all becomes much more easier, and you all automatically figure out that you're already there. You don't need something like differently to do something. No, it is here because there's only places now. So this also comes to a place where we are talking about now, where is this awareness part comes in, right? So there are multiple versions of the true self. When I say multiple version is the multiple way people can put this thought across, how what is the true self is. And in the past we talked about a dream, right? There is a one king who dreams about he being a beggar, if you remember it. So we just talked about it, as in who's the dreamer now, right? The one who is seeing all these things, the conscious self, as well as the one who is experiencing as a beggar and etc. So the very similar lines, another example also we can look into is the whole part of awareness is it is something like you're dreaming again, but this in this dream you're seeing, say, some tiger or something coming to attack you. So obviously at that moment in your dream you will go through all the emotions of your fear and anxiety, and you want to be safe and etc. You will feel the pain at that moment, you get really afraid and all those things. But then when you wake up, you feel, oh my God, it is just a dream. So what has happened, right? So those fear and emotion that you felt is true in the dream, but just that understanding that that is just a dream is a something that you feel as a realization. That is after you come out of it, you feel it as it is relieving. It is mentally, oh, it doesn't bother you much, right? Because yes, there are tigers somewhere in this world, some jungle somewhere, but it is not right now. So that is what people generally point out that as an illusion, right? The illusion is we are suffering, we are going through it, it is all happening to me. I am just a victim, nothing I can do now. One step back, yes, it is all experiencing. I'm experiencing all of this thing, it is happening, but it is not to me. It is happening right there. It is some kind of a detached way of seeing things. So that being said, how do we, I mean, I'm sure that you're talking about the Maya as an idea also, it is, which is pretty much a similar thing. The world is Maya. It doesn't mean that what I'm seeing is not real. I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking to all of you. So that is real, but then me attaching to certain things, it is where the identity plays a major role, and that cause all the sufferings. So with that, one thing I want to say from the awareness perspective is, how many of you played whack-a-mole? Whack-a-mole as a game, I'm not sure whether you played or you've seen it. So whack-a-mole, especially if you go to the arcade games in the malls or other places, you will see one board, where a lot of small holes will be there. There is a mole which will pop up. You will be given a hammer to, whack it actually. Just hit it hard, right? Um, I just believe that you're able to relate what I'm saying. That's a game in the arcades. I mean, the the gaming arenas that you see. So in that, while you're playing, if you ever played that game, there is one thing that is very profound while playing that game. So that is whenever you're playing it, you will be completely alert about where the next mole will pop up, right? Which hole it is going to pop up. So you'll be so alert and vigilant that you will be like, anticipating. Literally, the way to win the game is by completely be anticipating where the next one will show. Like even the slightest movement, you will capture the mole. Like, you'll go and hit it. And then the game becomes much more faster and faster and faster. So some point in time, you will lose your composure and then lose the focus. So the whack-a-mole, as an example, if you take it, the complete awareness to that moment, it is something that what we are talking about as an awareness, right? You are not participating, or you're not being like, the one who's popping up. Like, if the thoughts are like the moles coming out of the holes, and like, you're just whacking it. The awareness is the one who's looking at it, like, the one who's looking and anticipating where the next one will be. So that is a place of awareness what we are talking about. And one differentiation there is, sometimes we say I am aware. We use that word I am aware, and in a very loose context as well. When I say loose context, we will say I am aware of my pain. I am aware of, say, this laptop, my monitor. I'm aware of it. So we are aware, but then the I and aware, it is two different beings there. If you, I know this is little bit uh, a little philosophical context to it, but if you really notice, whenever we say I am aware, we separate the I from aware, right? So I am aware of something. So where is the true thing that what we are trying to explore is understanding that we are ourself is an awareness. The true self is not the one who's what it is witnessing, but the awareness behind all those things, the unchanging thing. So that is what we are talking about, awareness itself. And this brings one small point is, I wanted to share a quick thought on Vipassana. I'm sure some of you must have heard Vipassana. Um, okay, so the Vipassana is a 10 days meditation retreat, and it is about, like, Buddha's philosophies and Buddha's teaching is what generally that's carried for 10 days. During those 10 days, you cannot speak to anyone, not verbally. Even you cannot have a straight eye glance as well. Like, you cannot share the eye contact as well. So you shouldn't be looking or staring at someone's eye. So you should look down and then walk. You will be completely silent and all those things. So I attended this program in 2015, and when I attended it, there is something within me shifted. I didn't complete the course, by the way. I mean, generally people are requested and then made to attend all the 10 days. Only then they accept it. So when I attended Vipassana, the first day I was super enthusiastic. I said, okay, I am going to attend, I'm going to complete 10 days, right? However, after the third day, I started really, really suffer. Really suffer meaning mentally. Mentally, as in, I started telling myself, oh my God, these guys are talking about slowing down my thoughts and thinking, but whereas I value my thoughts and thinking. I'm a business guy. Like, I run a company, I do my business, as well as, like, my precious thing is my mind. My thoughts and thought process is more important than anything else. And these guys, on the other hand, they're telling me to slow down or let go of the thought. How do I do it? And this is completely against who I am, and I may lose my identity. So that is my thought. That was my thought, rather. So at that point in time, I didn't understand, or I didn't understand completely that it is my mind way of self-preservation. My mind is telling me to restrict or allow myself to preserve itself by not getting the idea of my whole being. It is an awareness, but not my thinking mind. So that I didn't understand at that point in time, right? So I went through suffering, like, literally I made a point to exit the retreat after fourth day. I mean, the fourth day I came out. And there are few other things as well. Like, when I'm talking about the Vipassana thing, the few other thing that happened to me was I kind of uh, indirectly lied. So that is one of the thing which is against the Buddha's Dhamma or the Buddha's principle. So when I say lied, what happened was I had this uh, leg injury or knee injury. So I cannot sit down for a long. Generally, people are expected to sit down. But however, I felt okay, it will be good to have a like a seat, like a chair or something. So I told this guy, yes, I met with an accident, which is true. Of course, it is true that I met with an accident. Just that the timeline is, it is pretty five or no, it was like almost 10 years ago. And whereas I was telling these guys as of now, so that made me feel guilty. And I went through the guilt as well, as if I lied. And it is a very basic principle which I violated. So I felt that I am not worthy of attending that program as well. That is another way I literally went over again and again in my mind and allowed me not to complete the course. So the reason why I'm sharing is your mind plays a very tricky role whenever you try to take any journey in our life, especially like the ones that we are talking about, right? So stillness, awareness, conscious being, and etc. Our mind a way of self-preservation. That is nothing wrong. It is doing its job to ensure that we need identity, because the self-made identities are not just one day born. From our childhood, step by step, we all created a lot of identities and how we perceive life as it is. And without identities, who are we? Nobody, right? So that's where we get hooked on to certain ideas. And that also sure that our the last place of resistance, right? The mind's way of last resistances say that all these things are BS. There's nothing makes sense, right? These are all nothing here. But then if you sit with the thought for some more time, you will also understand that there is an awareness which you can reach at any given point in time. So that being said, so I want to know from you is what how you're relating awareness is like. I just this is a question open to all. So the idea of awareness and consciousness, I just want to know what is your understanding at this moment, because everything else what we are all leading to this place of being self-aware person. And I like to know what is your understanding as well. If you're open, anybody's open to share, please feel free to share.
Hi Karthik,
Yes, Sucharita.
Sucharita here. I feel awareness to me is to be able to take in as much as I can simultaneously through all my senses.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as I can hear
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
see,
Mm-hmm.
and then feel, and then take it all in, perceive.
Mm-hmm.
I think to me that would be awareness, or even, just the act of noticing all of this
Mm-hmm.
happening around me through my senses,
Mm-hmm.
and to let not that meddle with my head would be a good practice.
Okay.
Yeah, that's idealistic, though, of course, whenever I would take in everything, my mind would try to perceive it. Like you said, the mind tries and protect you. So
Mm-hmm.
that does come in. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, in my understanding, that should be awareness.
That should be awareness. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. We will look into that. So yeah, that's a pretty good one. Yeah. So anyone else wanted to share? What is your understanding of awarenesses? Yes, Tanaji?
you know, I mean to say that we are not only the observer of our life or what is happening in and around.
Mm-hmm.
We can't sit and see what is happening.
Mm-hmm.
We must be aware that
Mm-hmm.
we must control what is
Mm-hmm.
happening.
Mm-hmm.
If there is something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
we can perform there. That means observing is not only the awareness, but acting according to the situation.
Mm-hmm.
That means performance is also necessary. Hmm. We can
Mhm.
act also.
Okay.
Uh, Acting according to the situation, it
Mhm.
may be the awareness.
Okay. According to the situation. Okay. So fair enough. Tanaji, thank you for sharing. Okay. Anyone else wanted to share? What is your understanding of awareness? Okay. Siddharth?
Yeah, I think to put it in simple terms, I think as you mentioned, it's to be in the present.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to just delve on that a little bit. What I mean by being in the present.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that in this day and age, it's
Mm-hmm.
often easy for us to get distracted from what we are doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For instance, it may be because of, say, wandering thoughts or
Mm-hmm.
just by being on your phone. Let's take a small example, right? If
Mm-hmm.
I'm waking up in the morning and let's say I'm having my breakfast,
Mm-hmm.
I indulge in, let's say, looking at my phone and going through something on my phone. Like it may be
Mm-hmm.
social media, it may be some sort of news, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And we tend to get so occupied by it that we become restless if we don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And at least for myself, what I've observed is when I do that, I realize that I want to gather in so much information.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really think about it, there's not much that I'm taking away from it. I'm just trying to be occupied without productively doing anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, like I mentioned right yesterday, just the fact that you are still and you're just not thinking about anything in itself gives you some amount of clarity at times.
Sure.
We don't pause and reflect on such things. At least I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Awareness is about staying in the moment and not doing other things.
Mm-hmm.
Parallel example would be if you're studying in a college, you're
Mm-hmm.
constantly thinking about going outside, right? You're not in the present moment of being in that class and doing something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as much as the example may be very unpopular, but I think just staying in the moment and being okay with what's happening at that moment um, is what I would classify as awareness. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Siddharth. So I just quickly just check anyone else, or we will look into this three examples. Anyone else wanted to share? Reshma, do you want to share?
Yeah. So for me, awareness is when there is a situation that you're involved in, and there are two minds that are telling you to do something about it. So it could
Mm-hmm.
be how you're reacting to it next. So to be an observer of both the conflicts or
Mm-hmm.
the both the thoughts that tells you what you should do next or how you should react to a situation, and you you being able to have a neutral ground and observe and take the whatever is appropriate would would be for me being aware of, or yeah, being conscious of what is what's going on in the mind instead of siding with one of the thoughts or going to one of the side, um, observing it away from both and taking a decision. That would
Okay.
be awareness for me.
All right. Thanks. Thanks for sharing. All right. So quickly, let's look into these examples. And is there anyone else wanted to share? I just before I just move on. So I want to check. All right. So with that, let's quickly understand. Let's take all the scenarios in life and try to see what is actually the difference between I am aware and I'm awareness itself. So there is a slight differences. So for an example, in I mean, I'll take all this example. There is one thing which is common. So in Sucharita example is I am being aware of the senses, you're perceiving things through the senses, and then it is occupying and taking as much as it can, right? It is kind of a bottle which can hold, or a container which can hold certain things, right? So, and if you're seeing yourself as a container, it can only fill certain part of it. There is a finite number of things is what it can take in. And the awareness is comes in, or the being aware. I'm not saying awareness here. I'm specifically or mindfully saying I am aware is being aware of what we take in or what we perceive. In Reshma's example, if you talk about being aware of two different thoughts and the conflicting thoughts, being aware of the thoughts. There is nothing, you're not a decision maker there, though the intention is to make a decision. With Reshma cases, okay, I need to make a decision between this or that. But the first step is see it as an external, two different things are happening. And in Siddharth example, if you talk about like, okay, so my mind is wandering with the social media streams and I'm eating, but then I'm still doing something else. And I'm losing track of my time and mind and etc. So that way you're bringing back your awarenesses. See, I would say, I mean, personally, even I do watch movies and I do see a lot of people, they also indulge. It is not in the part of indulging in things, but then completely indulging knowingly. That is with your awareness, you know that, okay, I am going to indulge and I'm allowing myself to indulge. I'm allowing myself to see the social media is also another step. But the first step is being aware of it there. And in Tanaji's example is whatever the situation that comes up, I have to be aware. And just with Tanaji's one example is Tanaji, like, in your wordings at least, you're a little more harsh to your own self. Like, I must, especially when you say I must, you're trying to force your thing way. I just want to, uh, it is for every one of us, because the moment we say I must, we should, and we should do this, it is a effortful way. Yeah, Tanaji, I'm sorry. I'm not able to hear you. Yeah. Sorry. Sorry. There is a line is like breaking. Yeah, Tanaji, please, if you can.
I should.
Okay. Is there anyone else who was able to hear him? So if you can, because I'm not able to hear him as such, so I just love to know what he said.
No,
Yes,
I'm unable to hear Tanaji as well.
Oh, you're unable to hear him. Okay. Tanaji, I think the network coverage or the internet bandwidth is so low or something. I'm sorry about it. So we can just connect and discuss that part. Okay. The point, what I'm just trying to say is, one is being aware. That is the first primary place. See, the first place where we all get lost and most of the time is our own thoughts. We don't even be aware that there is something that is happening to us, right? We just, like, especially like, I've been through depression, so I know exactly what it feels like. When I say that, I feel like I'm not comparing it with someone, but my understanding is I was completely lost in my own world, literally. Like, I don't know. I just only feel sad and I worry and feel a lot of emotions here and there. But then I'm inside that. I never used to see it from one step back, being aware that, okay, I'm experiencing something. So from that place, the first step is to, like, as we are talking about, come out of that river. If there is a thoughts, emotion, or like a stream of river, then be inside the river is one place that is getting lost in our thoughts. So that is where the first place that generally we find ourselves, most of us. The first step is to come out to the riverbed and then witness it. Witness the river or the thoughts and emotion as it is without getting attached to it. We just see it as a movie or the external factor. And that's what I'm talking about. I am aware of what is happening to me, right? So that person is being aware. So now, when you're talking about awarenesses, it is one part which you're trying to say that it is not I and aware are two different beings, as if we say, but then the moment you say that there is not me at all, like, it is nothing is happening. I mean, I know this is little abstract when I'm saying it. You feel that the awareness is the content of the life, whatever happens, you completely disassociate. You will see, take it as a movie. That is where the all the other things what we talked about, the equanimity as a state, like equanimity is a balanced status. You don't get affected. I mean, any situation that may come, like, it may be the worst situation in your life. You don't try to actively change it and escape it and then do something about it. Yes, you will take action. I'm not saying that you will not take action, but at the same time, you will not fight it. there's a slight difference, right? So you don't suffer, like, they say that if you are in a, a stream of riverbed, and if it tries to, like, come out of it actively, the possibility that you will get carried away is higher. Rather, you can allow yourself to float as well. Maybe it is in the ocean and the beaches, it's possible. So the point what I'm trying to drive home is, so yes, the first step, we need to be aware. And for that aware, I think most of you are able to see that. It is just that whenever you try to attach yourself to that situation, emotion, or a thought, if you can take a person that, okay, I am now being aware, just acknowledging it itself is a big leap, is what I see, right? Instead of going further into it, but then just being aware of what is happening, mindfully just acknowledge without any active resistance, and accept as it is that moment. If you feel that, okay, I am confused, okay, I'm confused. There is nothing wrong to be, like, confused about, like, no, it's fine, it's fine completely. Human nature is with dilemma, that's fine. Just that if you're favoring one thing, in Reshma's example, two things comes up. If she's favoring one thought over the other, she can gently self-inquire. Self-inquiry is, why do I feel that? Is it any part of my personality or identity that is coming into play? So is it some part of my belief system that is coming into play to make a one preference over the other? If by inquiring it, you may get little more clarity towards it. And when it comes to Siddharth example, all I would say is, getting lost in a thought, or the, like, the mindless state, which we all, like, the modern age, binge watching TV, newspaper, social media, etc. It's a very normal thing. In a way, it's a way of escaping the reality. All right. So it is nothing wrong as well. I would say that, like, oh, you have to be completely aware if you want to be really, like, the enlightened one. Yes, maybe that is what you're looking for, right? You don't want to indulge in any other thing, but then you completely want to be aware. That is a place. But then it is also it is okay to allow ourselves to get carried away with these things as well. Just that mindfully, you don't beat yourself, oh my god, this time I lost my mind again, I spent so many hours in social media. Instead of that, we can always bring our attention back to the, what do you say, uh, the moment, and then feel it, it's okay, allow ourselves. And Sucharita is again, like, the senses, our mind always perceive a lot of things as senses. Just that something that you, Sucharita, like, the one thing I felt was, you mentioned about senses, but then there is the autonomous body, which is our mind itself, right? The autonomous part, which takes memories from the past or some needs from the future. It tries to play around and goes around and around. Nothing from the external has to happen. So I just want to point that out is, it may not be limited to the senses, but most of our suffering also comes from our mind. The mind, which, like, clinging on to the past or something it is expecting in the future. So just being aware itself, you try to detach it, and self-inquiry is a place where we can go to. The moment we accept it, I believe that's a place where we start seeing things little disassociated. And from that detachment or non-attachment, you will feel a little better peace within yourself, right? I feel that. So yeah, so that's the thing, like, this is what I believe, and at this moment at least. And let's see how life teaches us something for good, or something that we need to understand better. Yeah, so with that, like, probably we'll summarize for today. And I just want to quickly just want to tell you all is one thing is, see, we have another 3 more days to go. And in 3 more days, I don't want to talk about more content part of it or more ideas or anything. Rather, I just like to summarize the whole thing of understanding, like, what is that we discussed? Like, obviously today it is 18th day, and in the 18 days what we talked about, right? So it is long time, I mean, in a period, a lot of topics we touch, a lot of examples, and how it is all connected, how it all makes sense, right? Is it really makes sense? Like, 21 days you guys spend. At the end of the day, I don't want to leave it as, okay, it is something that you spend but there is no use to it. I don't want that to happen. Rather, I just want to summarize in the whole way that how I press at this moment perceive how these things are interconnected, and give you a small snapshot, like in a takeable package which you can carry it of these understanding how they are interlinked. And the final days probably we can talk about, like how we can take it forward in life, or if you have any thoughts and which we want to do it, which we can do. And also, like I'm just planning or thinking that so if everyone is okay or some of you are okay, this is not a journey which ends in 21 days. Maybe once in 2 weeks we can just connect for half an hour, we can just discuss about it, our life journey, life situation, questions, all these things we can discuss about it in the coming days, if that's okay. So that being said, let's conclude for today. If you want, probably we can just sit for a few minutes of a quick meditation, and we can conclude in 4 minutes by 7:55, if that's okay. So yes, with that, let's get into a quick meditation. It's just being aware of what is happening in our mind, no forcing, nothing, just observe. That's what we're going to do. All right, so make yourself comfortable. Gently focus on your breath. As you're focusing on your breath, you can scan your body for any kind of a discomfort or a tension. Just relax. Look for any kind of a sensation in your body and acknowledge it. Look for your emotion, feelings, and thoughts. Acknowledge them as well. As we are aware that we are beyond our body, beyond our sensations, beyond our mind, beyond our thoughts, beyond our emotion. Look for the place within you which is still. There is always a place which is still. Just look for the place and be in the place. From this place of stillness, allow your mind to wander actively. By consciously, you allow your mind to wander. Just tell your mind to wander. If you noticed your mind has wandered off, just bring your attention back to the breath, back to the stillness. As you're experiencing stillness, just allow yourself to notice your any sensation in your body. Take a mental note of your inner state, your emotion, and gently be aware of your surroundings, the sounds around you. Now, when you're ready, you may open your eyes and come back to the session. You can come back. All right. So I believe everyone is back. So during the meditation, I must have said one quick thing is allow your mind to wander. Like, and it's kind of as if you're forcing your mind, and I'm saying that force your mind to wander off. Don't focus on your stillness or breath. I just consciously said your mind to wander. The reason is sometimes when you push yourself, like, ask your mind to, okay, I'm allowing you, go and wander, go away. Sometimes there is a resistance comes in. Like, it will say, no, wherever I should go, I wouldn't go. I will not go anywhere. I'll be here. Right. So I want you to just experience that part of it because it happened with me quite a few times. When I allow myself, okay, now you're free to go, then the mind says, where to go? I don't know where to go. Right. If you don't tell me, I will go. But if you tell me, like, to go somewhere, I don't know where to go. So that is something I want you to experience. I'm not sure whether you experienced it today. And it is a very active way of allowing ourselves. That way, the mind also acknowledges us and be in a place where we expect it to be. So if that makes sense, let me know. And have you ever felt that? Like, when you ask yourself a question, what is my next thought is going to be? Or if when you think about it, you go blank. Have you ever experienced that? Siddharth or Sucharita, Tanaji, have you ever experienced that?
Oh yeah, always. And I think just an extension of having such thoughts is it's also, let's say someone tells you not to do something,
Yes.
then your intention to do that particular thing
Mhm.
increases, right? And similarly, when you do say that, okay, so don't, it's like saying don't think about a banana. I'm pretty sure the only thing that you're thinking about right now is a banana,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Uh, yeah, so yeah, it makes a lot of sense when you I can relate to it.
Right. Awesome. Awesome to that. So that is the thing, like, so anytime that we try harder and harder, it becomes harder. Literally, like, with active efforts, it's becoming so hard to mind to not wander off. Whereas you allow yourself, okay, go wander off and come back whenever you want. It says, where to go? I don't know. Please don't send me. I'm here. Right. It is like a kids, right? So if you tell them to go, if you tell them don't go anywhere, they'll say, no, I will go to park. I will do this. I'll do that. But then you allow them. I'll tell them, okay, go out, play. Where do I go? My friends are not there. I'm here only. I'll watch TV. I'll do things. So it is something like that. So that's why I just mention allow your mind to wander off in a very specific or with a reason, right? So I just want to clarify why I said that. That's all it is. So with that, we come to an end of today's session. Thank you so much for being here today. And three more days to go, and I will make sure that we will summarize and take a note of what we discussed and how these things are interrelated and what are the practices, what are the meditation that we discussed. We'll summarize it in the next 2 days, and we'll keep the last day, that is on Tuesday, with specific as possible to understand how to take it forward going, like, with our own life after that, right? So with that said, being said, thank you so much, and we will end the session now, and you can